Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet a serial entrepreneur. He's into everything from beverages to a boutique hotel in Florida to the Museum of Ice Cream. His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I have a boutique PR firm and a podcast network, and I've got my hands full. I can't imagine being my next guest. He's got his hands in a lot of different arenas. Branden Muhl is in studio. He's a serial entrepreneur. Branden, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm fascinated with people who can do so many different things. I mean, I think about like Elon Musk and how many different projects he's working on. Mark Cuban is into a lot of different things. Does it make your head spin when you step back from your own life and realize how many different projects you're involved in?
It does make your head spin, but at the same time, these things have a tendency to get branded to individuals, and they forget, especially behind some of the people you mentioned that are even managing something much broader and often global. There are huge teams behind them and great people around them who are a huge part of those businesses and those success. So those people take a ton of pressure off of us. You can't do these things by yourself.
Okay, let's start by talking about the Mahaska brand. And am I pronouncing that correctly?
You were pronouncing it correctly.
Awesome. Okay, tell us about Mahaska.
So Mahaska is a business founded in 1889 on a U.S. patent for one of the original pieces of bottling equipment in the carbonated soft drink industry. We had our own brands back in 1889. We were not doing any Pepsi or Dr. Pepper bottling until about 1928. And the only brand company that people know broadly today that was in the carbonated soft drink business before Mahaska was Dr. Pepper out of Waco, Texas in 1886. So Pepsi and Coke didn't come along till the mid-1890s, a couple years later, and then RC Cola, I believe, in the early 1900s. So we've been in the business since the dawn of the carbonated soft drink industry, and we continue today.
Okay, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. We found a nice video. Now, this was produced 5 years ago, so some things have changed, but this gives you a nice overview. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Inspired by the no-nonsense spirit of the Midwest, the next company we visited playfully rejects the pretension of the coasts and celebrates the down-to-earth attitude of the flyover country while making good beer plains simple. Come with us to Iowa and meet No Coast Beer Co. The 2-year-old No Coast Beer Co. and 125-plus-year-old Mahaska represent an unlikely but dynamic dichotomous duo.
No Coast Beer Co. is an innovative company that takes a scientific approach to brewing No Coast branded beer, as well as cold brew coffee. We work out of a revitalized 1961 Mahaska bottling production facility, and we collaborate and cooperate with Mahaska to further a mission to advance craft, leveraging our forward-thinking approach, but Mahaska's 125-year history in the bottling and distribution industry. We have a laboratory, a unique water system, and a brew crew that boasts backgrounds in agricultural biology, the culinary arts, bioprocessing, as well as a former greenhouse grower of hops and grapes.
Using all American-made equipment, No Coast Beer Co. is able to brew some of the finest beer in the world.
We have a rotation of 8 commercial brews, as well as regular one-offs and a barrel aging program. Our most popular beers are our Yoga Poser Pale Ale, our Make Waves Amber Ale, and our Take a Chill Pilsner. Our award-winning beers are our Trendbucker Stout and our Lowbrow Brown Ale. which got a gold and a bronze medal at the Best of Craft Beer competition in Bend, Oregon.
No Coast Beer Co. has assembled a diverse brew crew with backgrounds in biotech, agricultural biology, and culinary arts. This amazing team allows No Coast Beer Co. to use a forward-thinking approach to brewing.
We take a very unique and scientific forward-thinking approach to brewing. We use the laboratory as an anchor of that process. What the laboratory enables us to do is develop testing panels and assays that allow us to search and destroy all forms of bacteria and microbes throughout the brewing process. This is important because the destruction of those microbes allow us to produce some of the most flavorful, clean, and long-lasting beer in the industry. We also operate a very unique water system that isn't just your simple everyday filtration system. It allows us to take things out, but also to put things back in. So every style of No Coast beer has a water that is matched to the original source for that style of beer. For example, our agricultured rye porter, its water is matched to the Thames River in London because it's an English porter. We also perform product development and mobile canning services for other breweries, but also coffee companies and even wineries. We're No Coast Beer Co. Our tagline is plain simple, and we're manufacturing out of Oskaloosa, Iowa, where we put the middle of the map on tap.
Combining beer science and a no-nonsense attitude with Mahaska's beverage bottling, distribution, and cooperative services, No Coast Beer Co. is one of the world's greatest.
And as we mentioned, that was shot 5 years ago. So give us an update. Many more brands.
Well, it's funny how you get into these types of things, Jeff. It only took us 125 years to get into the alcoholic side of the business, but believe it or not, the way it happened was we were having a conversation with a nationally relevant craft brewery about becoming their distributor in Iowa because they weren't getting the right type of solution and push from the Bud and Miller houses that they had dealt with in the past. And they said their number one concern was that they wanted to go with us, but they were afraid if it didn't go well immediately at the outset, that we might abandon or pull out of the business, and then they would be stuck without a distributor. And we said, okay, how can we make you comfortable? And they said, well, in a weird way, if you had your own brands, that would make us comfortable, that you had staying power and you were going to be in the business long term. So we looked into what it would be to have our own brand. And then when we did that, we figured out two things right away. Number one, that having your own craft brewing brand is quite a bit lower capital investment than a Mountain Dew canning line, for instance. So that was nice. We were able to build nice state-of-the-art facilities with state-of-the-art labs, bring on the right people. But then number two, there was a huge opportunity in craft brewing pretty much all over the country, but especially in the upper Midwest, to contract brew for other brewers, mobile can for other brewers. We now do it for coffee companies and wineries. So what we provide is really a cooperative services platform, almost like a farm cooperative, for these other breweries to be able to expand their businesses who wouldn't necessarily have the capital to do so as well. And we allow them to focus on the product, the beer, while we manage a full turnkey supply chain for them. And that's worked really well. Today, the most recent brand we're launching in Iowa is Hard Arizona from the non-alcoholic iced tea company with a famous flavor lineup. So
Wow.
It's been a huge success so far. It's got great early momentum.
That's cool. We're going to bring up the history page from your website. You mentioned a little bit of this. So origins of the company again?
Origins of the company, 1889 U.S. patent on one of the original hand pump and cork barrel attachments. Kind of the way the milkman used to do it. The early history of carbonated soft drinks was actually more of a pharmaceutical than a consumer product. These things were sold out of pharmacies, and it wasn't till the early to mid 1900s that they were delivered by horse and buggy and ultimately by truck to retail stores, general stores, et cetera, for consumers to buy.
Wow. Do you feel any pressure taking over such a historic company?
Absolutely. I mean, every day you think about, I'm fifth generation of my family, but I'm the seventh generation overall.
Wow.
So even though the business wasn't started by my family, we feel a deep connection to it, but also no one wants to be the steward who messes up the great thing. And, it's as long as you put in the work, it's not that hard not to mess up, right? There's a great platform and a great infrastructure there that we've been blessed with that we can do so many different things with. And, we're really excited about not only what we've accomplished in the last 10 or 15 years, but what we're going to be able to accomplish with what we've added on to the platform for the next 25.
Absolutely. Okay, if that wasn't enough, he's also an owner in a boutique hotel in Florida. We're going to pull up the website so people can see what we're talking about here. I mean, this is a beautiful hotel.
It is beautiful. They say real estate is location, location, location. I'm definitely no expert, but the Hotel Greystone is in the Times Square of South Beach. It's right across from the Setai, and it's right across from the new $500 million plus Shore Club development right on 20th Street, the largest public access to the beach. So we're providing a high touch, high service, 91 room, fully turnkey, full food and beverage operation, rooftop, et cetera. So boutique environment, boutique level of service, but everything you need on property and definitely within walking distance of everything you need on the beach.
Okay. And if that weren't enough, he's also the owner of the Museum of Ice Cream, or on the board, or let's show this website. Okay, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at the Museum of Ice Cream's website. I'm on the board of the company.
Okay.
We're also the largest shareholder and the largest major outside investor. The founders of this company, their names are Manish Vora and Mary Ellis Bunn, two very famous entrepreneurs who helped pioneer what's now known today as the experiential event or location-based entertainment, LBE industry. And what the Museum of Ice Cream really is, I believe there's a recent article in the New Yorker, or one of the major pieces of New York press, about how it's one of the most hashtagged museums in the world, even above famous museums like the MoMA and the Met, et cetera. But the idea is it's a fun place to go where the mission is to create joy. And it not only helps you connect with friends and family that you already have, but you play games, you engage with guides, you engage with the exhibits, you get great content and pictures, but you also go through often with groups of people that you don't know, and you form new connections and relationships and experiences. And coming out of the pandemic, this was obviously a concept that was massively successful before the pandemic, but coming out of the pandemic, it's really something people have gravitated towards and that people need.
I think it's outstanding. And how many locations are there around the globe?
The current locations around the globe right now are Singapore, New York, Chicago, Austin, and in the near-term pipeline, we have Miami and Boston for next year that we're very excited about, and future locations to be determined.
Well, congratulations on all your success and keeping all those balls in the air. That's very impressive. We're going to end with all three websites. We're going to start with the beverage company, Mahaska.com is that website, and then the hotel, GreystoneHotel.com, and then finally the museum website, MuseumofIceCream.com. The great Branden Muhl, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.